Flash is gone, but things are still changing. Anyway, hi guys, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm General Coggins. Retired though. Didn't call
Retired.
me Squire. Squire, there you go. Call me
I
Squire.
should have started this off with greetings and felicitations. Now I thought about it. Tally ho! I don't know if you know what we're talking about today, but welcome back, guys. What are we talking about today, Sam? I mean, General. I mean, retired. I mean,
Squire of Bedford. So, a chap appeared in episode 2. We knew he was coming, but not when, and I think a pleasant surprise this early on, and out of the blue.
out of the black space.
Now, there is the official discourse, there's the IMDb discourse, and there's the on-screen canon discourse. By that I mean, anyone can add to IMDb, so there's things that I said there, but I could go and, change it, I could go add something right now, right? Just saying. And also there's producers saying things, but also they've said things like, Benedict Cumberbatch isn't Khan, and Alex Kurtzman, and then season 1 Discovery will link into Prime. So, what they say, and how many Star Trek 4s are there that are being made, directors? So, unless we're looking at what is in the show, what is the actual canon, right? So until and there's no credits in this episode for weird reasons. So there's no if that had been said, that would have been canon because that'd be part of the episode. But it just says John Delancey and Rise, whatever his name is. So there's no actual on-screen for either of these things. So we're going to look at what's actually on-screen canon and do the detective work based on visual canon. So here's the chap. First of all, what do you think of his performance, his vibe?
His performance was fantastic. If he was doing a Trelane, he did a fantastic job, and clearly he was doing a Trelane. He had the mannerisms, he had the energy, the look, everything about it just worked. Even the actor has the same kind of nose shape and things like that. They did a really good job in the casting here, and he really pulled it off very well. It'd be hard not to know who he was trying to be after watching a few minutes of this. So, yeah, phenomenally done.
Yeah, I agree. He was different in that. I did rewatch Squire of Gothos partially for this as well. He doesn't act like Trelane exactly, and he certainly doesn't act like a Q exactly. There's a slight spectrum on Q, but we've got a baseline. He doesn't act like either. He did his own thing, but you can see shades of both. So I appreciate that. It's him doing his thing. And given he's on a mission, as I said at the end, Corby pissed him off. And so he was there to piss him off and change reality. We've never seen one quite that driven before, being that personal in that way. In that smaller way.
He gets mad at Kirk to the point where he wants to kill Kirk.
Well, indeed, but I mean, that was the mission to start with,
yes,
right?
Yes,
it was just it was an unusual thing. He's so on task, and the micro things. He wasn't changing the universe after that certain point. He was modifying some flowers. He was doing little things to improve. It was unusual for either player, right? Which is why it was interesting. It was a fun take, and given they're celestial beings, they can kind of do whatever the hell they want. So I appreciate it wasn't like I saw on your live last night. Someone said it was a lazy Squire of Gothos remake, and I gawked at that when I read that. I'm like, it's not lazy, and it's not in any way a remake. It's a prequel, sequel, spin-off, which is very intelligent.
Yes, and they've established in this one too that he is in fact still a child. In Squire of Gothos, he was also a child. I love that they said 8,000 years old, 8,020, Dad. Which I checked, I looked to see if they said his exact age in Squire of Gothos. Because I would have loved for him to be a few years older, like 100 years older, who just traveled back in time. So he's not as young as he was, but he's still pre-adolescent. He's still
finding himself.
Because at the end, he kind of threw a little bit of a hissy fit, but he was much more reserved.
Yeah, it was nowhere near Trelane, the TOS. He was, the acting of that guy, again, I really appreciated. Him, this bold, strong guy, and went, "Oh, Dad!" That very over the top sort of comedic style, but I get it. He's 7, 10, right? This was more measured, and it fit really well with persona. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, great look, great vibe. Interesting though that he had more of the power set of Trelane, it felt like, than Q, because Q will alter reality in a yes or no way, whereas Trelane's, fair to say this guy's Trelane Mark II, his powers could be undone by an emotion, which Q's could not be done. Like that's a severe which they had to have for the plot. But can you imagine in Voyager if there was an episode where Q came in and he was snapping them into, let's say, 14th century warriors, and then they just love each other and go out of it? You'd be like, that doesn't feel, that's a plot hole, right? So that's not Q level power. Now obviously he's young, that could be the reason why, but we have other Q stuff later. So it's interesting they gave you limitations. So he's neither vibe of each, and yet maybe both. So I feel like the episode didn't give you any answers to allow the debate to continue.
Yes, I think they deliberately did that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he never says Trelane, like he never introduced himself, and he never says damn dad, damn Q. Like they never say the words to give you the yes or no. It's appropriately vague, which allows us to have the debate versus it is or is not. But who the hell's Trelane? Next shot. That's Trelane. Mm-hmm. Now, boy, the vibe be very similar when you start to you know?
Yep. Very flamboyant, very garish and outgoing. Yeah.
Straight to comparison though, because I was kind of shocked. I mean, hell, sideburns. Nothing's identical, but everything is inspired. Sideburns are on point, the hair's on point, face shape's similar, the jacket clearly. And that was just a found jacket. That was just something they found.
Even clearly, the pant color, green.
I did not notice, because why the hell was I going to notice? And the boots, that's really impressive to me. Mm-hmm. That's the same, but not.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. The jacket kind of just had the extravagance that it's like, oh yeah, that's clearly trying to be Trelane. But to see it side by side and see the little neckerchief thing as well, and all of the little subtle things, even to the point where you showed me something that I didn't even realize, which we'll get to in a minute here.
We'll get to that, yeah.
And yeah, the facial hair, everything is just it was so well done. So well done.
And not trying to be a match, because as you see in live, the dark hair is a dead difference, and it makes them feel very different. So if they wanted to be the same exact, dye his hair, blue jacket, bigger neckerchief, that's all you have to do to make it one for one but different actor. But it's obviously not the same exact year, la la la. So this is a great version of clearly the same but clearly different. Works really great, and I was impressed, like I said, the side by side, because it's more obvious when you side by side it than...
A lot of people are confused, because if this is Trelane, in Squire of Gothos, he had been observing Earth through a telescope, which there's 800 years for that light to travel from Earth to him, so he was seeing Earth of the past. So he made a massive mistake, and he realized it, and that's kind of one of the reasons he got a little pissy. He also needed a machine to enhance his powers, which was behind the mirror, which is an interesting 1960s Star Trek thing. Have an important machine. So this, of course, this episode 2 of season 3 of Strange New Worlds, happens years before Squire of Gothos, where he obviously knows they have starships because he's on a star base and he's interacting with people. So that's why I put forward earlier the idea that this is an older Trelane past the Squire of Gothos, who, because he's omnipotent, can travel back in time. And I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of people are kind of confused. I've seen online, people are confused by the timeline of events.
Well, he can't be younger than Trelane. Just the difference in character, the confidence, the vibe, super different. And also, the way, at the end of Squire Gothos, the dialogue's very interesting. You don't say mum and dad, but it's clearly mum and dad. That is the implication. And they have very interesting dialogue. I can't remember verbatim, but it's speaking of I'm sorry, Captain Kirk, that he's dealing with you guys. That shouldn't happen. We don't approve of this. This is not okay. It's that's not what Q would say. In that frame, that if watch it and think Q, the ghost, they are not speaking from Q. And if that's meant to be, as we're getting to see, if this is meant to be Junior Q from actually Voyager, then there's actually Lady Q and John Delancey who are apologising for having contact with humans to Kirk post Voyager, and it's Delancey is not going to say that, so that doesn't work just structurally and whatever. We'll get to that in a minute as well. So it's interesting. It has to be after, just for the story to work at all. But that's kind of great because he has experience, and he's a tiny vindictive, but he's actually quite gentle compared to Squire of Gothos. He was wanting to hurt, and play fight, but as they say, your toys, your pets. Like, he's not playing with his pets, he's playing with, like, chess pieces that he knows he can undo, and it's different vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, in Squire Gothos, he was more like a child ripping the wings off of flies. Where here now, he's more refined. Like I said, pre-adolescent or adolescent age in regards to their age, right? But
yeah. He's playing, he's not play fighting. But with, like, I don't care if you die. So the tone's very, very... I was surprised how different the tone, but I can see the evolution. Anyway, so then you get this, and I really liked finding this, the next shot, because I was trying to look if Trelane had the ring, because that's a thing, but just the fact that the side by side, the mannerism, like the hand, I caught a moment, but there's a certain something, and then you can see the under thing. Like, this is so well constructed, and even he's got that line in his hairline on both. It's more subtle on the old one, but I'm impressed by side by side. This is clearly the same character when you do this, just without the thing we're about to get into. This is clearly the same guy, just a new take. Yeah, it's intentional, even if it's not perfect. But then once I did this, of course, I noticed. Go to the next shot. I did not, embarrassingly, notice that our new Trelane had medals on. Yes. I didn't notice personally, but when I rewatched TOS, he says General. He goes in with his, I'm a retired general. And then I remember the ribbons, cool. And then, as you can see, I've done the zoom. It's not the same medal, but they are all the same design, but modernised and streamlined to the point of having all the things. So they are
colors.
Like, that's the art design saying we'll make slightly subtler and sleeker medals that are. So obviously now he is Trelane, because you're not going to have the same 3 medals and the same 3 colours and the same 3 ways and the same. Obviously he's Trelane, done for that. That's my case closed, evidence wise.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's easy to miss because, as I said, the busyness of the jacket, the size of the medals, they're getting lost. And then you look at the zoomed in picture and it's like, okay, side by side, yeah, the ribbons are the same colors. They're roughly the same medals as far as shapes go and colors go. That's impressive, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of the nail in the coffin of it's definitely Trelane.
Yeah, and I'm seriously, put your hands up who didn't notice. Because this is a close up in 4K, and you still the colors pop out more than medals, right? But what I like about this is that for me this tells a story beyond the fact that they're there, because they're intentionally different. In TOS, they feel like it's a silly add-on because he's a kid who just played pretend. They're too big. That makes sense, and so I like the idea that, as he said, he is now, let's say, 1,000 years older, and he still has that importance, his legacy, but now he's made them, now because arrogance is less, he's not trained to be a general, they're still part of his like identity, but now they can be the equivalent size to his arrogance versus that Trelane. So now they've become smaller in the costume because they're so garish, and it's like those famous the Dictator, right, with Sacha Baron Cohen. He has like a wall of medals because the point is not what they are, the point is that he has them. For me, that's what Trelane is here. Like, look, I'm fancy, and now they're there, but they're back down to where his arrogance is. So that feels very apt. I'm hoping that's what you guys intend at Art Department, but I love that.
Well said, sir. Well said.
But then we get this side by side, because obviously visual update, but visual update needs to be based on the original, otherwise what's the point? Otherwise it's not the original, right? So we have the 2 Trelanes, cool. We have the green flashing balls of something or other on the left. And with the 3 stages of what we saw in the episode, we have left of the 3 smoke trails is Delancey's dad, which is blue. The middle, we see Trelane actually phase into a cloud, which is very explicit in how it's showing it. And then on the right, we have the Trelane following his dad, and he is now green, which matches the other one. So that's the visualness of that. What do you think comparing?
Yep, they definitely are the same as far as idea goes. Obviously, the visual representation from back then, even the remastered, is just based on that, and it's a little different. But this is more of what they would have done if they could have in the 60s, probably.
Or just in TNG. give or take, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. And yeah, obviously they're going for the same color palette. They're going for the same kind of feel. That booming kind of echoey voice when he spoke as well. The same as in Squire of Gothos for the parents. So, yeah.
Because now we're going to start to move on to the is he a Q debate, because this is all still just definitely Trelane, right? All these things are really well done. If you're going literal, then because Delancey is blue and not green, which has got to be an intentional play, that could imply that both of the people from Trelane original aren't his parents because they're both green. And therefore, like, his minders, and that would take that away, so it can't be Delancey, which would be okay, weird retcon, but fine. You know, it says mum and dad, just says, oh, but, right, fine, whatever. Clearly it's meant to be parents, but whatever. But the fact that he's green links him, of course. But I was surprised that he became a cloud, because even in this episode, he has a snap, but no flash power, but he does make Corby disappear in the classic Trelane way of just disappearing. So he does have the instant disappearing power. So he should just disappear or fade out. So to have a full effect, Qs aren't balls of energy. So that means he's not a Q because he's becoming the gas cloud that Trelane is, which is not what Q is. And certainly Q isn't going to fly around as a good blue gas ball in real time just for the lols. Certainly isn't, right? Whereas a gas cloud
show up.
Yeah. So clearly this is not a Q behaviour, right? Despite Delancey's, like, clearly this is evidence, right? Thoughts?
No, I absolutely agree with you. For people to make the world of the universe of Star Trek so small that every omnipotent being that has the powers to do these kind of things has to be a Q, I think is silly beyond belief. We've seen multiple entities in Star Trek, specifically TOS, that had the ability to change or manipulate matter and just make things disappear. I like the idea that there are other omnipotent beings out there, because that only makes sense. That's like the final point of a lot of species evolution, right? So I like that it's different. It doesn't have to be a Q. I understand why people want it to be a Q, or why they want it to fit. Everything has to fit together. Q was around in TOS, sure, whatever. But it doesn't have to be that way, and I like that this is not a Q.
Yeah, because Trelane became a gas ball.
Yeah.
That's not a Q behaviour.
As we all do after eating Taco Bell.
Yeah. There's also something that I forgot, because it's only memorable in the second viewing. They explicitly say why he's there, because Corby was excavating currently on his home planet, where the species evolved, which was where they are with that tower. That is the current mission. So we know exactly the name of the planet that the Trelane race is from. So if they're actually saying that's Q, then they have now changed the entire canon, or at least given us a definitive answer, that Q's race was born on that planet and evolved. Which is super under the radar in terms of like the way it's said, but it's like, geez, guys, that is a bold, silly thing to do, for me personally, because that's explicit. It's like,
because I heard that too. He was digging around the dirt on my planet. Which is it the planet that you are currently on? Is it the planet you're from? There was a little bit of, but...
Well, because he chases him, so it certainly implies the planet he's literally just been on, like, yesterday. Because he has to travel in space. Scotty says there's a thing outside the hull. So the guy doesn't just appear, he travels through space, a la lots of TOS things, so he followed him physically from his planet.
That's a very important thing in the episode that's kind of quickly overlooked. I thought I saw a little blip thing there.
Just outside the hull. Qs don't need to do that. That's not a Q thing. And even young Qs, we'll get into a minute, don't do that. I guess they could, but they don't. And if you start inventing stuff for the sake of it. So I just want to say, if that... I'm fine with that being the Trelane planet homeworld, that race, because they're mid-evolved. Fine with that, right? Fine. No problem. But Qs? Nah. Because then we get into what IMDb says.
Yeah.
It says these are the people that are all the same people. And of course, show their maneuvers, because Trelane does things often with a hand swipe or nothing at all. The new Q snaps, but no flash. Ever. Not once. Or a sound effect, as in the same form. He does do this once, but he could have done double click and moved. He went out of shot, so you can't tell. But middle Q, young Q, junior Q, always snaps, except when he doesn't. But he always flashes, and they don't ever not flash. And that's an always Q thing. That's like the thing. There's no unsnap. You can't without that. That is the celestial energy doing its thing, right? But the episode calls him Q Junior, and if Delancey is the Cloud, then he is the son of Q, which means he's this guy, which means he's from Voyager. Thoughts? Because that means these three are the same person.
They're not. I hate that so much. Just because Delancey did the voice of the dad, that was just a nice nod to, this is our friendly resident, omnipotent, awesome Star Trek guy. Let's put him in this role. It was just a cameo or a nod. I hate that this is a thing now because it was brought up a few times on my live last night. I refuse to believe that these are the same character because they're not. As you said, when a Q does its thing, there's always that audible and visible flash. Now, whether the people around it actually see it or not is debatable. It could just be for us, the audience. But not all Qs snap. Some Qs wave, and they still have the sound effect and the light. So, just a different form of omnipotent being that probably go to war with each other sometimes. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like the idea that the Q's son is Trelane. I think that's silly.
Because instantly this makes him not a Q. Because these aren't Q powers. And not as powerful as Q powers. Like I said, his powers are broken. And then, of course, you've got to remember, if this is true, they're all the same person, right? It doesn't really make sense. Then what the hell's the ordering of time, right? Because he was born after Q, as in John Delancey knew Janeway, and introduced to Janeway as a baby, and he remembered it. So he knew humans as a baby who had space travel, because he says in the episode. Okay, so he's a baby who knows humans are with space travel, who's omnipotent and has powers. And then what? Then he goes to the Trelane planet to play with humans, not knowing about races, and then gets told off by Q and Mama Q, who also, in the episode, she disowns him for being trouble. Fine, she can undo that, but at this age, as post-baby, he's been disowned for causing trouble. Right? And yet, previously, he doesn't know what humans are with tech. And then after this, he's this now guy who can't snap powers, who's less powerful, who's older but he's too old, don't know. It acts like Trelane, so it has to be after Trelane. So is Baby Q, Junior Q first, but then he forgets who humans are and then does his bullshit? Or is Trelane first and then becomes Q? And...
Well, exactly, yeah.
What do you think? Like, tell me, because these are not...
Because Trelane in Squire Gothos made a mistake, looking at Earth 800 years in the past. Didn't realize that soon humans would be right on his doorstep, because they had invented ships. So, if anything, if you really want to believe this, the Q's son from Voyager is an older version yet again. So we got Squire Gothos, young one. We've got Wedding Bell Blues. Trelane is the next age, but still like young adolescent. And then you get the son from Voyager, which is probably late teens, early 20s. Kind of got his shit together, kind of knows what he's doing. That's my theory, if you're going to make these the same character.
Okay. I'm going to take on... Let's talk about... Okay, let's go with that. So yeah, it has to be Trelane first then logically. So it has to go from baby, but pre-baby, because baby young Q knows humans. So it's before he's a baby. So he's an amoeba. He's a Q... Not literally, but he's a proto-Q. So he is born into the ether. He's put on this planet, and he does his own research. So that's him as an infant, right? Has to be, because baby Q knows about humans, knows about Aunt Kathy, remembers all the stuff. He lives on that planet for X number of years. He pisses off humans. He learns about humans, gets it wrong, and then John Delancey and whatever come and discipline him pretty severely. And then he goes on a tirade of damage. No, they think he's Rise. You think he's the new guy next? Because I'm wondering if it's the Voyager one next, because in the episode they say he's causing trouble and therefore he's on Voyager because he's about to be thrown out the continuum, and that's like a mini trial of learn.
No, yeah, I think the one on Strange New Worlds is the next one. And then later, when he's older, still causing trouble, but a little bit more vindictive trouble.
Okay.
That's when he's getting threatened to be kicked out. Because that's what I think.
So he goes from Trelane, disciplined by both his parents, and then he becomes the other Trelane who now knows about the galaxy, going around causing mild chaos, but not that much chaos. Who's still young, already 8,000 though, with limited powers. 8,020, and then after that, Q takes him to Voyager to then suddenly look from being, I mean, Y's gonna be what, 50 something, back to being 20 something.
Well, the look can be anything they want.
I know, but the way they act is appropriate to the age, right? He acts, for the most part, 40 and then back to 20, right? Because young Q was meant to be the youngest Q. He was meant to act young. So then he becomes young Q, thrown away from his parents, then he's about to try to continue for his trauma, and at the end of that, he learns a lesson and becomes himself. So they think that's the arrangement, right? And they think maybe he gets a snap when he gets old enough, which is why he's the oldest one, despite playing the youngest one and deliberately playing the earliest version.
Sure. Or could it be just as simple as they're not the same character at all?
That's easier,
because they're not.
I agree. Because Trelane can snap. But Q's can't not snap with a flare.
Or do anything, change anything without a flare.
What do you guys think? Because I love his Trelane. Cool. He ain't Q Jr. He ain't a Q. Q's cousin. Second cousin.
I love that they got John Delancey in for the cameo. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that just makes them think, oh, it's obviously Q's kid, and it's not.
And to me, he didn't act like Q. And he knows how to act like Q. So he's having to be told to not act like Q. Especially as he'd have to be Q post-Voyager to already have a kid. So he's already been the Q we've known for his entire life. So he would be the Q we know.
Comment down below what you think about this whole Trelane Q thing. Either you think he's Q's kid or you don't, or that Trelane is a Q or Trelane isn't a Q. Let us know in the comment section. We want to read those. We also want you to join us for live discussions just like this, where we can talk about the stuff with you guys in real time. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss those lives or edited content like this, because we love doing it.
And support us if you can to bring these in-depth discussions with these graphics, going back and watching the episodes and doing the things so that you don't have to just watch our thoughts. Support us if you can monthly via Patreon or join the channel via YouTube. Any amount each month makes a genuinely big difference and gets in the fleet video as well. Or one-time donations via Super Chat on live, Super Thanks on any video, or PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com. Or just be here for the next video and share support that way.
Until next time. He's retired general. Squire.
Yes.
Of Trekyards.
Yes.
Cockings.
Yes. Captain Phone.
Yes.
Never to retire.
I'm going to try the snap.
If only you were a Q, but you're not. You're a...
Maybe I could just wave my hand and make the video end.
Yeah.